Hello, I'm Keith and welcome to Media Minefield Explained, helping you with information to navigate the complexities of home cinema and home media entertainment. The reason I've started this Media Minefield Explained sub-series is because I've been asked by a few people who watch my content for some explanation around some of the nomenclature, jargon and technologies that I talk about on the channel. So this is aimed to give a brief explanation of these without being a comprehensive or definitive answer to everything, but hopefully enough to clarify what I'm talking about when I mention things on the episode. So today's episode is looking at aspect ratios, which again is something I often quote the aspect ratios on screen to the particular films I'm talking about. Now, aspect ratios actually go back and delve into the history of cinema, both from a capture and a presentation method. But to make this easier, I'm going to simplify it to how it relates to home cinema and home media. So essentially, the aspect ratio is the relationship between the height and the width of a screen. Historically, around the world, television up until the late 90s was always presented in a 4:3 aspect ratio, so a ratio that was much closer to a square. Now, if you have home media releases of television that was produced up until the sort of mid to late 90s, and you have it presented on one of today's widescreen televisions, you will often get black bars either side of the screen, what they call pillar boxing, and that is in order to maintain the aspect ratio that those shows were originally created and shot for. Now, interestingly, a lot of social media platforms are going back to this type of ratio, a similar ratio, simply because of the shape and the orientation of most smartphones. Now, most televisions, or indeed computer monitors today, regardless of the actual diagonal size in inches, has what is known as a 16:9 format. So this is a wider screen format where the width of the screen is noticeably larger than the height of the screen. Early cinema in the 20s and 30s had also a 4:3 aspect ratio, which was known as an Academy ratio back in the day. But as cinema evolved, the screen size got wider, and certainly by the 1950s, in order to compete with television, the standard screen ratio in cinema was what was known as 1:85:1, and this was a widescreen ratio. Now, 16:9 televisions actually have a 1:78:1 ratio, so it's very close in aspect ratio to a standard widescreen cinema ratio. But many films dating way back used what they called a Cinemascope, which was an extra wide screen, which was achieved using anamorphic lenses to stretch the image that is put onto film. Now, a Cinemascope aspect ratio is usually somewhere between 235 to 240:1 aspect ratio. And again, many films released are kept in their original aspect ratio, which incorporates then black bars top and bottom when viewed on your 16:9 television. Now, some early DVD releases of these films presented them in what they called a letterbox format, and what that actually meant was there were black bars top and bottom on the screen, but the image was in no way stretched anamorphically to fill the screen. Now, if you watch those older DVDs on some of today's sets, you will notice that they actually appear in a box on the screen with both bars at the top and bottom, but also at the sides, to retain the correct aspect ratio. If you want to get rid of the sidebars, you have to actually zoom in on your TV set, which of course affects the resolution of the picture slightly. So therefore, most DVDs that were released beyond 2002 were released in an anamorphic 16:9 format, so that it would fit the screen without losing any of that quality. And obviously this applies to both Blu-ray and 4K UHD. So depending on what the particular film or TV program that you're watching was originally photographed in, relates to the black bars and the aspect ratio that they're seen on your monitor or TV. Like I said, if it was a television series that was made before the turn of the century, there's a high possibility that there will be black bars at the sides. If it's a standard widescreen movie, it will fill your screen entirely. And if it's a Cinemascope type movie, it will fill your screen, but you will have black bars top and bottom. Of course, there are variants on all of these things as well, hence why I call this Home Media Minefield. But those are the basics, and I hope that that has helped. So that brings me to the end of my first Home Media Minefield Explained. I hope that I was able to explain that clearly and it made sense to you. If you've got any questions or any problems, then please do put it down in the comments below and I will try and answer it. I'm looking with this series to cover everything from home audio standards to global disc regioning to different types of physical media packaging. But if there is anything in particular that you'd like me to cover in this series, then again, please do put in the notes down below and I will add it to the list. That brings me to the end of Home Media Minefield Explained. There are of course going to be regular episodes of Home Media Minefield where I do physical media reviews. That's going to continue, as well as unboxing videos. So if you did indeed find this information useful and helpful, then please do consider subscribing to the channel and hit that bell icon so that you don't miss anything moving forwards. And I will speak to you on the next Home Media Minefield. Goodbye for now.